Joseph Stalin was born in Gori, Georgia on December 18, 1878, a country south of Russia. Stalin was born with conjoined toes. This might have led him to be judged and discriminated because his toes were not normal as other children. At the age of 7, Stalin suffered from smallpox and was permanently scarred by it. When he was 12 years of age, he hurt his arm in a carriage accident. This led to one of his arms being shorter than the other. As Stalin started entering teenhood, his father became an alcoholic and an abusive father. This caused him to receive psychological/mental issues and physical abuse. Later, after his mom joined an Orthodox preschool against his father's wishes, his father went on a drunken rampage and assaulted the chief of police. Instead of arresting Stalin's father out of mercy for his mom, the chief of police banished Stalin's father from Gori and had him move to Tiflis, leaving Stalin and his mother. All this concludes to show how this affects Stalin's mental state as he goes on. But of all of these several issues, Stalin's father was probably the worst. When Stalin was 16 years old, he received a scholarship to the Georgian Orthodox Tiflis Spiritual Seminary. He did excel in the school during his years there, but was expelled for missing his final exams in 1899. Later, Stalin discovered Vladimir Lenin's writing and was inspired by it, so Stalin joined Lenin and the Russian Social Democratic Labor Party. Stalin worked as a part-time clerk in a meteorological office, but after a state crackdown on revolutionaries, he went underground, living off of donations only. Lenin then went on to form the Bolsheviks, to which Stalin eagerly joined as well. There is not a lot to do with Stalin's psychological state in this part of his life, for these events in his life did lead him to his rise in power. Stalin found himself in trouble many times as he battled with the Russian government. He played a big part in the 1907 Tiflis bank robbery, stealing about $3.4 million with Lenin and the Bolsheviks, leaving about 40 dead as well. Stalin was exiled many times to Siberia, but often escaped. And Stalin married his first wife by the name of Ekaterina Zvezda in 1906. Stalin and Zvezda had a son together, but unfortunately she died the following year of a disease known as typhus, which probably affected his mental state as well. Stalin said that she was the only one that he actually loved, but now that she is dead, he is much sadder, and this probably did not help him maintain his mental state as he got madder and madder.
Was one of the most intimidating, most powerful leaders of the world in history. A man who was enticed by vengeance and supreme power. It's the Joseph Stalin we all have come to know. But the man behind the terror, the man behind the power, and the man behind the stash have been under the radar. Joseph Stalin went through a dreadful childhood, abused and left by his own father, developing one of the most gruesome diseases while he was still young. A woman whom he truly loved swept away from him, and his mother constantly applying pressure upon him. The worst thing about Stalin's life is that every single urge of pain left a scar, so he can remember his dark days for the rest of his life. Stalin ran in and out with the law constantly, being arrested over 9 times in a single decade. As he grew close with Lenin, Lenin got to know more and more about Stalin. After Lenin passed, the position for power was up for grabs. Trotsky and Stalin were the pursuers. Lenin left warnings before his death to stray away from Stalin, but surprisingly, the people didn't decide to listen to him. The master manipulator, Stalin himself, was the man to rise to power and gain the people's favor. With so much reign and power on the broken man's hands, Stalin's ultimate goal was to intimidate and restore happiness and acceptance that was absent earlier in life. As every day grew on, Stalin seemed to grow angrier and angrier, but based upon his facial expressions, you wouldn't be able to tell. Anger was bottled up inside, waiting to be unleashed upon its next group of victims. Stalin developed purges, putting his own people in his blast range. As time drew on, Stalin had made his own country his target. Collectivization of food and harsh labor, Stalin showed that he was to be respected. Stalin intimidated the whole nation, even telling them when to stop clapping, so no one would have to stop clapping first. Stalin was murdering millions, and as time drew on, he began to eliminate his enemies. Trotsky, his once fierce competitor for power, was ordered to be assassinated by an ice pick in Mexico City by Stalin himself. A man who claimed power by riding the right horse on Victory Day when Stalin wouldn't do it himself was arrested for stealing Stalin's show. Stalin ordered 14,000 of the military commanders to be killed for no apparent reason. He eliminated his enemies and erased those he executed from history. His people were imprisoned to his shriveled hand and pen, and they worked by the wave of his hands. Stalin was mentally insane, and revenge was never fulfilled within his mind. Any man or woman that had disrespected him in the smallest way, on any level, was to be executed. Stalin tore his country down enough that when his country was invaded by Hitler and the Nazis, there was no defense from his broken people. Stalin had bottled up all of his anger and let it marinate over the years. The anger marinated until a tally of 34 to 49 million people have been taken due to his wrath. In his words, a single death is a tragedy, but a million deaths is a statistic. Stalin didn't understand the power of his words that came out of his mouth. He could kill without feeling anything. The psychological problems of Stalin seemed to be complex, yet they were still simple. Russia allowed a psychotic maniac to take the reins of their country, and this was the result.